Welcome back to the news at 10. Well, our focus has been on security, so let's tell you a little bit more. The Kaduna State Police Command says its officers have killed 2 suspected kidnappers during an operation along the Zaria-Kaduna highway. The policemen also rescued 11 victims from the suspects. The command spokesman told Channels Television that they received a distress call that some bandits blocked the Kaduna-Zaria expressway and abducted 8 persons from a bus on the way from Kano to Abuja, the nation's capital. On receipt of the information, the command mobilized teams of operatives with some armored personnel carrier vehicles to the area, engaged the attackers in a gun battle, killed 2 of them, and rescued all the victims unhurt. He explains that many other bandits escaped with bullet wounds, adding that the command is still on their trail with a view to apprehending them. One of the suggestions from the Channels Television and United Nations Development Programme Forum on Corruption and Development is that Nigeria must employ new and more effective methods to fight corruption. The panelists and studio audience believe that more needs to be done in dealing with corruption.
Corruption remains endemic in Nigeria, despite attempts by various governments to tackle it. This is evident in the United Nations Office for Drug and Crime report, which stated that 675 billion naira was paid in cash as bribes to public officials in Nigeria in 2019 alone, which corresponds to 0.52% of the nation's gross domestic product.
Hello and welcome to the first edition.
At the inaugural edition of the Channels Television and United Nations Development Programme Dialogue Series, the lead discussant, Professor Mushtaq Khan, an economist, shares an interesting view on the fight against corruption.
If you don't identify the most damaging types of corruption that are feasible to address and do something about it, then you won't get the development which actually allows you to reduce other types of corruption. So there is a kind of two-way causality going on here, and that's why the analysis of corruption is so complicated.
Other members of the panel make contributions on the relationship between corruption and development.
We perceive corruption as a governance deficit, that when institutions of governance are not efficiently responsive to the needs of the citizens and do not have the capacity to deliver certain services efficiently and effectively, then it creates a loop for transactional costs that manifests as corruption.
I think the challenge here is that there is impunity. And impunity in the sense that when rules are agreed on in a country, and you found that the people who has the power to implement the rules are not brought to justice because of their affiliation to a particular party, there is a problem.
While the anti-corruption agenda of the government has certainly reduced the space for corruption to take place, quite dramatically in some spaces, it has done so much less in the area of petty corruption. The day-to-day experience of Nigerians being confronted with requests for small-scale bribes has not fundamentally changed. It has not deteriorated, it has improved a little bit, but it hasn't improved in a massive way.
For the participants, the conversation was an eye-opener.
It has revived our consciousness. There is now a resurgent view as to how we now connect corruption with the issue of development.
I'll be running with the notion of creating an environment for people to be able to have, for business empowerment, such that we can reduce the level of poverty in our environment. I think to a large extent, this is going to reduce the level of corruption in our society.
The conversation at the Development Dialogue concludes that the fight against corruption should not inhibit the country's development.
The first meeting of the Nigeria Governors Forum this year is currently ongoing at the NGF Secretariat in Abuja. Some of the governors who are already at the Secretariat include the governors of Ekiti, Nasarawa, Delta, Kaduna, Osun and Sokoto states, while several deputy governors are also in attendance. Our correspondent reports that part of the agenda includes the review of the agenda for the NEC meeting on Thursday, deductions for budget support facility, nomination of the host states for the joint SDGs projects, and updates on the National Sports Festival. Let's take a look at some business news now, and here's Anne Wilder.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Ijoma. Welcome to Business News. We begin with the federal government's first bond auction for 2020, which took place today. It has been oversubscribed by more than 300%. According to the Debt Management Office, a total of 155 billion naira instruments of 5, 10 and 30-year tenors were offered to investors at the auction. Investors' appetite for the 30-year bond has continued in strength, with subscription of about 621%, and that's about 341.77 billion naira. That's when you compare it to 55 billion naira offered, while subscription for 10-year bond was 404%, and that's about 201.98 billion naira, compared to 50 billion naira offered by the DMO. Successful bids were allotted at the rate of 9.85% for the 5-year bond, 11.112% for the 10-year paper, and 12.56% for the 30-year bonds. Ahead of the commencement of the new tax regime for next month, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has raised concerns over the wider implications of the 7.5% increase in value-added tax on Nigeria's economy. Speaking at a press conference today in Lagos, the new president of the LCCI, Mrs. Toki Mabogunje, asked the federal government to utilize additional income, which is expected to be generated from the VAT increase, to further develop infrastructure across the country. She also says the Finance Act will allow a friendly business environment by reducing tax burden on small and medium enterprises.
We note that the Finance Act is aimed at generating more revenue for government and making the business environment more enabling by reducing the tax burden on micro, small, and medium enterprises. We note that the Act will help support the funding and implementation of the 2020 budget. However, the increase in VAT rate from 5% to 7.5% gives us concern. The new tax regime does not bode well for manufacturers and other stakeholders in the real economy. The new tax regime will affect cost of production and profit margin, with consumers at the receiving end. The VAT hike has implications for inflationary pressure and consumer demand. We advise government to utilize the additional income that will be generated by the increase in VAT to develop quality infrastructure.
Let's head to Nigeria's local stock market now. Equities has sustained the negative sentiments into midweek trading session on the back of losses recorded from medium and high-valued stocks. Layo Adegoke has the details for us.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It's the second day of negative close for the domestic stock market this week as some high net worth investors sell down on equities to bid for the 155 billion naira January 2020 bond auction by the DMO. As a result, they recorded a marginal 0.02% drop in the main index, as well as 3 billion naira loss in overall value after sell pressure hit the share price of MTN Nigeria, Dangote Cement, Lafarge, and some small cap stocks. Now, the share price of Law Union and Rock Insurance tops a list of 15 gainers after a 10% increase. Julius Berger is ahead of 18 losers with a 6.76% price load shared, while the small cap manufacturer Austin Laz emerged #1 on the trade list with a turnover of 85 million shares. Total turnover of shares traded for the day stands at 315.66 million units, all carried out in more than 3,560 transactions. Well, that's it on the Stock Market Report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
Thanks a lot, Layo. Stocks on Wall Street regained some lost grounds today as gains from tech shares lifted market sentiments across board. Let's find out how major markets ended at the close of business. And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Joma.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Now, it's been a day of accomplishments for staff of the food and beverage giant Nestle Nigeria as they launched Golden Morn, or they relaunched it, one of its brands. The new look Golden Morn contains a cocktail of new ingredients that the staff call Grain Smart.
Federal and state dignitaries from the health sector, as well as important personalities from Agbara, where Nestle has its main manufacturing plant. They are here, along with staff of the company, to see the new face of the wholly indigenous Golden Morn, one of the products which the Nestle CEO and its category manager are particularly proud of.
Local sourcing is not only a smart business decision to ensure supply, but it's also the right thing to do because we contribute to transforming small and medium-scale businesses and because we are involved in developing the value chain.
In 2016, the brand has reached a key milestone by the fortification in iron and vitamin A. In the general context of sub-Saharan Africa, characterized by a low protein intake, Golden Morn provides 26% of the daily need per serving.
The new Golden Morn is now in a modern stand-up pouch.
I think you can do better in sound and applause. Put your wonderful hands together.
We want to modernize it, to give it a bit of a fresher look. It still keeps the essence of what Golden Morn is all about. Having said that, we also take the opportunity to make our product better.
Grain Smart is a combination of different vitamins and minerals.
Grain Smart is a mix of iron and vitamins B1, B5, and C, essential micronutrients for energy release and development of cognitive skills. The new Golden Morn is now available in markets across the country.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Manchester United forward Marcus Rashford set to be sidelined for 2 to 3 months. Find out why. Plus, Chinese authorities temporarily shut down public transport system in virus-hit Wuhan, where deadly corona broke out. And that's from our London Bureau in Around the World in 5. Do join us.